Hello, this is Lex, and you're listening to Lipstick and Liberation, a podcast that is from my perspective as a Black feminist post the 2024 election. I want to thank you so much for tuning in. During this podcast, we're going to talk about the issues that are facing women and girls in this country post what has happened with the re-election of Donald Trump and the rise of conservatism. I also want to spend some time talking practically about ways that we as women and girls can survive. I think oftentimes when we are dealing in liberation politics, there's so much focus on the freedom aspect that we don't talk enough about how to survive the situation that we are in and get the best outcome for what we are dealing with currently. So a little bit about myself. I am a single divorced mom who became a feminist later in life. I was very much a daddy's girl growing up and raised very religious. I always had a very, very high opinion of men. And I would say I ran away from the idea of being a feminist probably until my mid-30s. What was truly transformative to me was finding out about the Bill Cosby allegations. When I did discover those, it made me realize that something similar had happened to me and that it wasn't just my identity as a Black person that put me at risk for oppression, but my identity as a woman as well. Because not only did I not have the language for what happened to me till that came out, but I also started to find some of the similar things that those women went through when I started to speak about what happened were also happening to me. I also experienced domestic violence, which was something that I never could conceptualize happening to me because I felt like I had such high self-esteem and that I just was one of those people who just was like, this is something that could never happen to somebody like me. And in understanding that it did, I started to be more in community with other women who are experiencing that. And I realized how common it is. And when you have women of all different economic backgrounds, racial backgrounds, locations, nationalities, all reporting similar things happening to them, you come to understand that a problem is not just a problem with you, that it's systemic. From there, I've read a lot of books, I've been to therapy, and I've really honed my position and politics on being a woman in the past couple of years. I call myself a radical feminist, but I am not a TERF. All women are women, trans women are women as well, and that the things that they go through tie into the patriarchy that oppresses us cis women as well. I am extremely pro-choice. And what I say is radical about my feminism is, like I said, even though I do acknowledge the reality of patriarchy and that we do need to dismantle it, I'm also very realistic about the fact that women have to survive in it. So I do give advice to women about how to date safely and get the best outcomes if they're going to date and partner with men, and how to work within this system to get the best outcomes until we are free. Because the more power we have while we are approaching liberation, the easier it'll be to knock it down. You cannot break down the patriarchy if you are not in power in some place or some form. Those are my politics. What led me to wanting to get into the podcast space was the realization that a lot of radicalization of men is happening in this space, and we need to be present here. We as women need to be present. There is just so much noise out there and so much misogyny that is being mainstream that we have to have our voices here. And I decided to just take that upon myself. This is kind of scary. It's very scary to record your thoughts and your ideas and just put them out there because you don't know how they'll be received. But so much of that stuff is out there that is negative towards women, and it is reshaping the minds of the men in this country to the point where men are starting to say things like, we shouldn't be able to vote, we shouldn't be able to work anymore. And that's absolutely unsafe for us because of how men treat us when we do not have power, and the fact that we are citizens and human beings with fully realized dreams who deserve to pursue life at our own desires based on what we want and not based on what we are told is our purpose to be here. So I am here to be a counteracting voice. I am here to be a voice of feminism in a sphere that is mostly patriarchal and misogynistic. And I hope that you will come back and be here with me, listen to the things that I'm talking about. If you are a man, you are free to listen, you are free to learn. I will not center anything about men here, and we will talk frankly about men and the oppression that happens to women. But my target audience is women. Women, you can write into me. I'll put all that information in here. You can reach out to me. I want to talk to you guys. I want to give you my perspective on things. I want us to be able to build community with each other because oppressed people need to combine our powers. We need to be together. And I'll try to make these podcast episodes short. I'm aiming to make them 20 to 30 minutes so you can listen to them on a car ride. And I'm definitely going to, like I said, I'm a practical liberationist. Definitely going to include fun things. We're going to laugh. We're going to talk about, we are going to enjoy ourselves while we talk about the things that we're going, because the act of joy and enjoying yourself is an act of rebellion in and of itself. So let's start out with the serious stuff first. Ladies, in fact, I think women as a whole need to rethink the aspect of legally changing their name anyway. Now that the SAVE Act is out there and Republicans are trying to pass this, and this is totally with the intention of disenfranchising women, people of color, the poor, and trans women by making it so our documentation has to match our birth certificates. So this is a poll tax for anybody who is not a man, a cis man. And if this is how men are going to start to try to take away our rights, then we need to start adjusting our approaches to how we interact with them. And so I would definitely say the act of name changing legally, it needs to stop. We need to get out of that altogether. Socially, if a person wants to change their social media name to their husband's last name, that's fine. But at this point, legally, there's really no upside to it. It's a very expensive process. I did it. I'm divorced. I still have my ex-husband's last name. I wanted it to keep it because I have a child with this person. I want my child to have the same last name as me. But honestly, if I could have changed it back with very little hassle, I would have. The reality is, and people say, oh, there's services that do that. Those services just send you the paperwork. You still have to drive that stuff everywhere. You still have to pay for another social security card. In and of itself, changing your name is a tax on women. And companies will still get it wrong. I got a debit card with my maiden name for years, even after I changed it. So what are we going through this for? To prove ourselves to a man that we really are down for him. We're really there for him because we legally changed. It's ridiculous. It's outdated. And now they've basically given us a reason to abandon it altogether beyond the fact it's ridiculous, outdated, and expensive. So I want to be one of the voices saying that, ladies, stop legally changing your name to your spouse's last name if it's a man. Even if you're hyphenating, etc., this is going to cause problems moving forward if this does pass, or if the Republicans continue to try to pass even pieces of this legislation, if they continue to try to press this issue. But when it comes down to being able to vote in this country, we need to prioritize that over any kind of social expectations with changing our name. Our voting rights have to be a priority. Now, we got a voting bloc that's a problem. We all know it, white women, that we need to get in line. I don't know that we ever get them in line because they're so married to white supremacy. But that means that the ones of us who are voting in our best interest, the ones of us who are voting for abortion rights and for us to have our own health care and for us to be extended maternity leave, we have to make sure that we are not being disenfranchised by things like this. So this is me calling to all women who have not done it yet. Do not change your name to your spouse's last name legally. Let's abandon this practice. Moving on from the SAVE Act, I'm sure some of you have heard there was a game out there where it was encouraging and rewarding people for essaying people in the game. That game has been taken down, thank goodness. But this is a sign of the fact that people are continuing to dehumanize us and continuing to try to radicalize men to be more violent towards us. And I want to take the time right now for people, women, if you are raising sons, you need to be very carefully monitoring what they are doing online, what they are watching, and what they are consuming. Because this stuff, I mean, that's why I'm here. That's why I'm in this space. This stuff is being targeted towards. And we're not we're not talking enough to our boys about the personhood of women, about the value of women. They're getting only negative messages from the misogynistic things their friends are picking up, the manosphere, the latent misogyny in society. And what are we doing to combat it? Not enough. So not only do we need to be monitoring what our sons are consuming, but we also need to be talking to our sons about women's rights, about women's autonomy over their body, about treating women with respect, not just the basic, oh, they can do what you can do, don't hit them. Like making them understand that they are in a privileged position in society and they need to use their privilege to advocate for women. That should not be happening. There are people whose brothers voted against their rights this past election, but we are not raising our sons to consider everyone else. A lot of people, especially men with a lot of privilege, are voting just specifically for their interests. They're not thinking about other people around them who are a part of their family, who are a part of their community. And that's a failing on us in raising them. We can't do very much about the misogyny and the manosphere existing, but we could be doing a better job about having these conversations with our sons. We have to end the narrative that boys are easier to raise. That can't be true with men growing up and leading violent crime in this country. Men growing up and being most likely to unalive their partners. Boys are not easier. We are dropping the ball on boys. And unfortunately, we can't expect men to pick up that ball. This has to be our fight. We're the mothers. Most of the time, we're doing the primary parenting. We know. So that time that you are spending with your son, you need to be driving home that women are people, talking about our personhood, talking about our rights, why we need to have autonomy over our bodies, why it's important as a man. And this might be something that's controversial to some of you as feminists, but like I said, I'm radical, I'm practical. As a man, your son should be raised that he is not to be taking money from women. I'm going to say that one more time. The gender pay gap exists. There is a safety aspect for women dating men, that he has been given more power in this society, and that the best way that he can contribute to the safety of women is by not disarming them financially by taking money from them. This is something that a lot of men have kind of tried to take from the feminist movement and women wanting to work and turn it into their favor. Well, you guys make money now, so you guys should split bills with us. I always tell women, feminists do not get out in the field and fight for you to have money to give men a 50% discount on bills. And you should raise your son with that mindset. Women are not here to help ease your load in life. This is a society designed by men, and you have privileges. So since you have those privileges, you should be trying to ease a woman's load in life, not trying to gain a 50% discount from her. The reason that feminists got in the field and started fighting for women to be able to work is because we were property. We were not able to open bank accounts or credit cards. We were not able to determine things in our lives without money. Money is power in this society. And a man needs to be able to take care of himself on his own, the same as a woman needs to be able to take care of herself on her own. But when they come together because of the power imbalance and the increased danger, when you come together in a marriage with a man, the likelihood is of the two of you, he is the person that is going to remove you from this earth. The likelihood that a woman would do that is very low. This is a great risk to a woman. A man will also make more money than a woman. Therefore, he should step up in that way and make sure that the woman is empowered with money so she can do what she needs to do to protect herself in this society where violence against her is very likely. That is the true sign of love that a man can show a woman in this patriarchal society. And any man that is making you split bills with him or finance his lifestyle is trying to keep you trapped with him. And you can never be safe if you cannot get out of a situation like that. We want to raise sons that make women feel safe. And we need to raise girls that understand the system that they are in and how to best navigate. Because the things we are traditionally taught are not in our best interest. They are in the interest of men. All right, we've been serious. Like I said, as a liberation-minded person, I like to make it a little fun now. The other day when I was on Twitter, they were bringing up a movie that often gets discussed. It's called A Thin Line Between Love and Hate. It is starring Martin Lawrence, also stars Regina King and Lynn Whitfield. If you're not Black, you may not be familiar with it, but I think most Black listeners would be. This movie was kind of like Our Fatal Attraction, but with a little twist. In this movie, Darnell Wright, who's played by Martin Lawrence, he is a ladies' man, and his guy friend dares him to get with this beautiful, successful woman named Brandy. That's Lynn Whitfield's character. Now, Darnell is really in love with this woman named Mia, and he plans to be with her. But he decides that he wants to just use Brandy for a little fun. Brandy tells him that she is not the kind of girl that's down for that, and she really doesn't want to be played with and to leave her alone. He doesn't care. He looks at it as a challenge and continues to pursue. Once he gets her, and I mean, she gets to the point where she's trying to take him out the game. Beats herself with a bag of oranges, calls the police, says that he was beating her. I mean, she starts stalking him. And the discussion on Twitter was everybody saying she really wasn't wrong. Him and his girlfriend. And I think about this movie because back then, that kind of thriller was just kind of so cliche. And when I was talking to people about it, I was like, man, you know what would have been so amazing is if they made a movie like that, but gave it kind of a Gone Girl twist where they did vindicate the woman. Like this guy, she told him, I don't want to be treated in a certain way. And he intentionally pursued her and treated her that way. But she becomes the villain in this movie for trying to get rid of him, for trying to get back at him. And I would love it if they made a movie where the guy's the villain for treating her like crap and she gets to get her revenge. You know, whatever that may be. This genre deserves a refreshing. Like, it's so cliche how they end it, because they always end it with some big dramatic fight scene and the lady who's crazy gets killed. And I just think that would just be such an amazing version of the story, is if they actually told it in a way where the woman got to be justified in her anger and she got to get her revenge on the guy who basically played her like a fool. I mean, Fatal Attraction. When Fatal Attraction came out, you know, obviously everybody thought, you know, I'm not going to be ignored, Jan. She was insane. But watching that movie as an adult, the way he carried on with her with that affair, like, it wasn't just a hookup. He had a full-blown affair with that lady. He was with her that entire weekend. Like, he completely became enmeshed with her. And yes, she is mentally unstable. And who knows if she was really pregnant. But if she was, she had every right to make what decision she wanted to do with that baby. And the movie just immediately makes her wrong and unstable. And in doing that, it basically invalidates the fact that Dan was actually a creep for cheating on his wife, because now he has this crazy lady after him. And I'd love to see a genre film that flipped that on its head and actually made the guy the bad guy for mistreating the woman. I mean, that could have been a thin line between love and hate, could have been our Gone Girl before Gone Girl even existed. If they had just let Lynn Whitfield's character get rid of Martin Lawrence's character, because she warned him. She warned him. But anyway, I think that's enough for my first episode. Thank you guys so much for listening. I will be back with more political information, more insight about ways to survive patriarchy for the ladies, and we're always going to have a little fun discussion at the end. Definitely hit my email if you have some ideas about things you want to talk about or questions. And again, thank you so much for giving me my space in this little podcast world.